Alrighty, dude. I just know I'm gonna have to color grade this one hard. I can just see the whiteness. I went to the beach and got like no sun.
You went to the beach last week?
I went to the beach last week. Yeah.
So tell me about your week. What did you do?
That's right. We're hopping right into the podcast. I didn't even plan that. I was just talking about how white I am on camera. But yeah, no, I was on vacation. It was my birthday last week. It was pretty awesome, pretty fun. Went on a Disney cruise. Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know, I love all things Disney. And yeah, my Christmas tree is entirely Disney. A little bit of a Disney addict. So part of my financial future is to allocate certain funds for more Disney trips. And
more Disney cruises and the parks.
The parks, yeah. I'd like to go to the Disney in Japan. That would be. I know you're heading that way.
I will be heading that way. I will take lots of photos for you. We're going to try to do both parks.
That's cool.
Have you seen anything about the sea parks? I know nothing about it.
I've heard a little bit about it, but not too much. I know there's a hotel. It's the only Disney property that has a hotel in the park.
Oh.
Which is kind of cool. So like, rather than like, oh, wake up, take a trolley, a tram, an Uber, monorail to the park, you wake up, you're like, let's go to the park, and you're in the park, which is, that's pretty cool.
Isn't it true that at the one in California, you can actually pay to stay in the Cinderella Castle? Isn't that like in the park?
It's so much money.
Okay, so you can do it. It's just money. Okay. You just didn't ball out.
I don't know if it's in Disneyland or Disney. I think it's Disney World because the Disneyland castle it's actually very small.
Oh, okay.
It's very small. A lot of forced perspective to make it seem bigger. But the one in Disney World's huge. Like it has a full restaurant in it and everything. It's very large. But yeah, week has been good. Low-key got food poisoning, but that's okay.
Was that from the cruise or?
That was okay. So, okay, we're gonna go off on a little tangent real quick.
We'll get back to the financial stuff eventually, but
exactly. So it was my birthday. We went to this wonderful steakhouse called Palo on the ship, and this one steak. It's my favorite steak. It's called a cowboy steak.
Oh, okay. Is it with cowboy butter?
It is with cowboy butter, and it's huge.
So good.
It was like. Dude, it was so massive. It was like one person could not eat this. So I went out with my mom because that's who I travel with and stuff. So we got the steak, and mom likes it rare. I like it medium rare. The chef said I can do half rare, half medium rare, and he brought it out on a nice plate.
Your mom is my kind of woman.
Oh, dude, it was rare. It was
like scary rare.
It was very pink. It was very pink. And it just didn't agree with her. Didn't agree with her. So she was sick. She was, you know, it's funny. You know, you think of like food on a Disney cruise would not be that good. It's actually really good. But this time we didn't hit the lottery on this one.
So I'm usually between rare and medium rare. That's where I want to be. And I've always tried to figure out how do I describe that? Like, and I didn't know, but there's a thing called Rare Plus.
Exactly.
It's right between. I went to a steakhouse and they're like, oh, you just want Rare Plus? Is that there's a name?
That's a thing.
Yes, that's what I want.
It's beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, it's I'm a medium guy. I don't like to see too much pink. I'm not big on that, but I do love cooking steaks. I love grilling, all that fun stuff. It's a classic guy move. It's like it would be weird for me not to say I don't like grilling. But yeah, that's how my week was. It was good. It was solid, and yeah, not too much. How was your week?
Oh, my week was really good. We actually, you went on your vacation, so I thought I should go on a vacation too.
I love it.
So we went to Cancun.
Awesome.
We went with some of our really good friends from out in Texas. I know you guys are watching, so hey guys. So we went out there. We got to stay at a 4-star hotel in Cancun, right on the beach. I got to do a lot of scuba diving or snorkeling, which I really like to do.
Love that.
Got to do some jet skiing.
First time or
no?
You love jet skiing.
I like the jet ski. Yeah.
Who doesn't love jet skiing?
Dude, it's just throttle. Like
it's so much fun.
It's pure throttle. You enjoy yourself as you're running to the rocks. Like,
yeah. It goes so fast.
Yeah, and my wife. So we took out 2 jet skis. The couple had theirs. We had ours, and we were having a lot of fun. And my wife, she went first, and her and both the girls were driving nice and slow. And
of course,
they're going fast, but they weren't like turning.
Cautious, yeah.
And then it was time for the boys to ride. So my friend and I, we both got on the jet skis, and my wife's like, "Chris, you need to drive." Fine, conservatively, because she's holding the GoPro, which had a wristband on it. Of course, yeah. But her sunglasses, she forgot to bring her little strappies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't worry, dear. I know what I'm doing. And I gunned the heck out of it. So we're having fun, and me and the other guy, we're doing figure eights, and we're like trying to jump over each other's legs.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm gunning it as fast as I can, and I turn hard, and I say my wife counterleans me, and my wife says I just don't know how to drive, and we end up just getting ejected off.
Both of you?
Yeah, we both flew off.
That's
It wasn't
hilarious.
bad. It was, the video makes it look worse. Yeah, my wife has a pretty good Instagram story of
Oh
the
my
fall.
God.
But yeah, we got taken off, and then the first thing I come up, my wife just goes, "You did it. This is your fault. This is your fault." And I look at her, I'm like, "Where's your glasses?" And she's like, "Oh no!" So we're looking on the floor, and thank goodness the water in Cancun is crystal clear.
Oh, thank goodness.
Well, pretty darn clear. But we had no goggles, so I'm like looking down. I'm like, and we're about like probably 10 to 15 feet above the
That's not
floor.
too bad.
No, but I can see it. But I'm like, so I dove down, and I'm like trying to touch, and I'm trying to look, but everything's blurry. And you're looking for like thin Ray-Ban sunglasses. My wife wears those really
The nice ones. Yeah.
So I'm like trying to feel it. I'm like, I can't feel it. So luckily our friends went in, they grabbed they went to the guys who rented us the jet skis.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us a snorkel set. They came back out, threw it to me. But during that time when I was trying to like wait over the water, the current had moved me. So for 30 minutes of our hour-long jet ski thing, I was just searching the water trying to find these sunglasses. Later on, when I got the goggles on, right below me was this giant stingray.
Really?
Yeah, huge stingray.
Yikes.
So when I was down there, like petting the ground, trying to find the thing, I could have very easily had a Steve Irwin moment.
Ooh.
And but luckily everything was fine. It took me 30 minutes. I was able to locate the sunglasses. I found the sunglasses. No one got hurt. My wife is fine. I'm fine. But it was great. I really like going to Mexico to travel. I think it's one of those places that a lot of people think is really dangerous, but kind of everywhere is dangerous. But what I do love is the food and the experience and the people. It is probably one of the best places that I like to go.
I love that. I love that. And Spanish speaking, do you speak Spanish down there?
I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but I really need to learn. I'm half Hawaiian, half Mexican, but I kind of fall more to the Hawaiian side. But my wife, she was in Costa Rica for 3 years.
Nice.
She lived there for a while, so she speaks fluent Spanish. My wife is about as white as you are. So when we're in Spanish, we're in Mexico, people come to me and obviously think I speak Spanish. So they start speaking to me in Spanish, and I go, "I'm so sorry. No comprendo. Let me get you over to my white wife who can speak for me."
That's awesome.
And my favorite thing to say is, habla español, and I go, taquito.
Taquito.
So then they go,
Poco, very little.
"You're an idiot," and then they walk away.
I wish I was a fly on the wall for that trip. That sounds like a lot of fun.
We also got pulled over by the policia.
Okay, there you go.
That was terrifying.
A little bit scary.
It was the real police, thank God, so they didn't do a shakedown or anything, but they did have us get out of the car. They searched the entire vehicle.
Really?
I thought I was going, they lined us up on the side of the road.
No kidding.
Yep.
Really?
Yes, we went to a cenote, and we were, a cenote is like these huge water, or like, they're freshwater pools just inside of caves and stuff.
Ooh, okay.
So we went to one, we were doing some cave jumping, or cave diving and everything. And then when we were driving back, myself and the other gentleman, we were inside the front seats and the girls were in the back. And he had no shirt on because we had just came from the cenote. I had taken my pants off, so I just had my compression shorts on and a towel. So I have to imagine when we pulled up, the cop, it's dark, it's getting dark at this point. The cop starts speaking to me in Spanish. And I'm like, I don't know what he's saying. And my wife rolled down the window. She's like, "Don't talk to him, talk to me. Don't talk to him. He doesn't understand you. Talk to me." But the cop just keeps pointing his flashlight at my face and speaking to me in Spanish. And I was like, "I don't know what you're saying." And then he's just like, "Pull over." So he must have seen like 2 guys in the front seat, like one not wearing shirt, one not wearing pants. He's like,
it's a little suspicious.
yeah, it's a lot of suspicious.
This guy refusing to talk.
Yeah.
It's like it's a little strange.
Yeah, so they pull us over and they did the whole thing. They inspected us. But one of the cops, when we were, they had my wife, and my wife was, he had them watch her, or he had her watch him search the car to like make sure he didn't plant any drugs or anything, which was really like cool.
Yeah.
And then when we were sitting in the back, like in our little lineup, the other officer was writing in Google Translate to like ask us questions, like, "Where are you from?" And when we started doing that, I was like, okay, these are just nice guys. They just want to go home to their family.
Yeah.
So do I. Like, please just.
That would be nice. Yeah, we don't want the Fi Guy podcast. I'm not trying to rebrand at all.
Yeah.
Not trying to be a solo podcaster. But
So that was my crazy week, and now we're back, and I have a slight rasp in my throat. I went to jiu-jitsu this morning. Just want to let the audience know. We were practicing the paper cutter choke, and I just got a little bit too much on the trachea, so that's why my voice is a little bit off.
interesting. Yeah, I'll have to Google that. I don't want you to show me, but
You still have to go to jiu-jitsu with me. I'll show you then.
that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I feel like it's funny. We're like 10 minutes into the pod, and I feel like we could go on pop culture stuff. We could have a whole pop culture like podcast talking about books, Jocko Willing, extreme ownership, jiu-jitsu, fine. Like we could We could go off and do a lot of different things, but
Could. But what I say we do, for the audience's sakes, because we have gone farther than what I wanted to with this, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Yep. Let's just kind of go into what we're here to talk about today. I think last week in the pod, we introduced the FI crash course.
Yes.
Something I'm super excited about. This is going to be probably a 12 to 14 part 14 part episodes with each one focusing on a different portion. Last week, if you haven't heard it, please go back and listen to it. It's about discovering your why for FI, or like we used to call it, the Wi-Fi.
Yep. I love that. That's so good. We're very corny over here.
And then in this one, I think, is going to be probably one of the most action-oriented ones. And it's kind of your step-by-step guide to financial independence and finding your actual financial independence numbers.
Absolutely.
What that's going to mean is going in and calculating what the 4% rule is.
4%.
What is your FI number?
Yep.
Introducing the blueprint to FI, and then the importance of saving for financial independence.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have definitely a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of stuff. Do you want to get right into it?
Yeah, so let's buckle up and we'll get ready for some financial wisdom dropped by Dom and Chris.
Alrighty. Well, segment 1 is exploring your financial independence. This is absolutely pinnacle for getting to your FI. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we're the bullet points for segment 1?
Yeah, of course. So again, it's what is FI? I think a lot of people, when they hear about financial independence, they think of, oh, well, I'm not going to be financially independent. I don't own a yacht. I can't purchase my own private island, can't fly private jets. And that's not what FI is. That's not what FI means to me.
No.
And I'm not sure if that's probably what FI means to you. What FI means to me is being able to rely or be able to cover my costs of living without relying on a regular paycheck.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that means that I have assets that are able to pay me enough to cover my cost of living. So there's a few parts of the equation here. Number one, I need to have enough assets to cover those things. But another two is I need to be sure that my living expenses are low enough that those can cover it.
It's kind of an offense and a defensive play at the same time. Yeah. It's just a game, and Chris and I talk about this all the time, where the way to make finance more fun, if you're not just a nerdy finance guy like us, is to gamify it, and it doesn't have to be boring. It can be fun, it can be exciting. Like, finance is exciting, and the more exciting you make it, the more you're going to actually get towards that financial goal.
Yeah, so if you think of the offense and the defense, I like to think of a teeter-totter. So there's on one side of the teeter-totter, there's the expenses, or how much you spend, and then there's the how much you make.
Yep.
And what we're trying to do is trying to weigh them often, and then we're kind of go from there. But that means that the annual expenses is crucial for finding your FI number, because the lower you can make that annual expenses number, how much you spend a year, the lower your FI number needs to be.
Yeah, and that has to do with something we talked about on the last podcast with the rule of 25 you were saying. Do you want to explain that real quick?
Yeah, we'll talk about that right now. So the rule of 25 is if you find what your expenses are on an average year, you times that number by 25.
Yep.
That is the rule of 25. I like to call it the rule of thumb of 25 because
it's general.
It is general.
It's not, everything in finance, it's funny, it's interesting. Funny and interesting. There's so many ways to play the game.
Yep.
There's not just one way to score. There's different goals. There's different ways to get to the end zone. A lot of game references today. I'm not sure why that is. It's Saturday. Football's coming up tomorrow. But there's definitely a lot of ways. There's no one set path. And that's what I love about finance. Because I was talking to my dad about this yesterday. We were talking about real estate. And he was talking about debt. And he was saying, all debt's bad. And I was like, actually, not all debt's bad. It depends on how you use it. And that's getting down the rabbit hole of debt. And leveraging debt to have assets that pay you so you can get closer to your financial independence number. But that's definitely not sure where I was going with that. But
no, you're exactly right. There are many different ways of achieving financial independence. There's so many different ways of making money, different ways to invest your money.
Yeah.
I've done options trading. I've done credit spreads. I've done all the different ways, and I've found the way that works for me. But not to say that any of one of those were wrong.
No.
Because they were all right and they could all do it. Like there's quantum investing, there's technical investing. There's so many different types. And I think a lot of people, they'll hear all these terms and just be like, oh, I don't even want to do any of them. But you can keep it as simple as you possibly can. Or if you don't know what you're doing, hire a financial advisor, have someone to help you out there to make sure that you're doing it. But what's more important than trying to be smarter than the average investor is working on your habits.
Yes, that's super key. Yeah, if you're just blowing all of your earned income on, dare I say, Amazon purchases, we all know at least one person. You might be that person. Not gonna call anybody out. Amazon's very tempting these days, but yeah, definitely curating your habits to reflect your overall goal is pinnacle to success.
Yeah.
Pinnacle. You gotta control the short term actions for long term gains.
All of financial success is mostly habits and psychology, the way that you just show up.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to continuously show up. So, getting on to segment number 2, if you're ready to move on. The rule of, I was going to say the rule of 4, but the 4% rule and its role in financial independence.
So the 4% rule, and we're going to get a little bit back into the rule of 25, but the 4% rule was done by the Trinity study, where a bunch of university professors found that if you have sufficient assets, which is 25 times your annual times your annual expenses, you can withdraw 4% from that per year and have a 90 to 99% chance of never running out of that money.
Okay, so you're basically saying I have my annual expenses, you multiply that number by 25, okay? And basically, you can withdraw 4% of that every year and never run out of money.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. I hope that was simple enough for the homies at home.
And it should also, the nice thing about that is it should also keep up with inflation.
Yes. So you're pulling 4% out. Inflation it varies, but
We're going to roughly say 3%.
3%. And the market goes up roughly 7%.
7% on the low end.
So you still have that 3% cushion. Take 4% out, you still have the 3% to fight inflation, all that fun stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how you calculate that. Just the relationship there but that, again, it comes back to making sure that your annual expenses are low enough to be able to help to offset how high your number needs to be able to reach that 4% rule.
Yeah, because the higher your expenses, the further you have to go to save. We're going to talk about a little bit later at the end of the podcast, the win of the week. We're actually going to revert back to this whole thing. But it's definitely, the more you have in expenses, the more you have to save, the more you have to plan for, and that's definitely, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can lower your expenses as much as possible, you can get to your goal faster of becoming financially independent.
Yeah, so lowering your expenses is dramatic for reaching your target number for FI.
So how can we calculate our FI number?
Well, we talked about it a little bit again, but I want to just make sure that we really explain it to the audience. So it's 25 times your annual expenses. Okay. So expenses means however much you spend.
Yep, groceries, utilities, car payments, stuff
Rent,
like that.
mortgage, all that kind of stuff.
Anything where money is going out.
Yep. And a thing that I like to make sure that we preface is that a lot of people will say, well, there's that one-time expense. Oh, I forgot that I had to pay for the car's renewal registration.
Yeah,
or
tires.
Tires, or I broke my leg. But
exactly.
That's just a one-time thing.
GTA 6 came out. It's a one-time purchase.
I needed it.
I've been waiting for 10 years.
So what we can do on those one-time purchases that a lot of people don't put in. So a lot of people, they can usually say oh, my budget's like $2,000. But then when you look at the end of the year, they ended up spending
twice that.
$60,000. Like, well, where did other money come from? And they're like, well, I had that one trip to Vegas and that one trip to there and there's one trip to there and I had to buy all these things. So if you have those one-off expenses, life is going to happen. You have to start to account for those life expenses. So what I will do is if there's, say, car registration only comes once a year, take that, divide it by 12 and average it out over the 12 months.
Makes sense.
Easy.
Yeah. So calculating your FI number and also tracking, every dollar and stuff like that, that's super important. Thankfully, we don't really need to do Excel spreadsheets. Shout out to my dad. He does, he has the checkbook, every time he writes a check, he balances the checkbook. And I'm like, Dad, the internet exists. He's like, I don't do that computer stuff. I'm like, okay, Dad, you do you. Like I said, there's many ways to play the game. And he's happy.
As long as he's happy. And like you said, there are so many different ways. You could honestly, if you want to track your expenses with pen and paper, if that's what works for you, do it. Yeah. But we are in a little bit different of a time, so there are easier ways. I like Mint and the Wine app.
Love those.
Those are good ones. And they're constantly coming out with new ones every single day.
Yeah. It seems like every app that has something to do with money is getting into every space. Every app is trying to be everything.
Yeah, I even have an app which I sent to you recently called Elements Financial Planning.
Yep. That one's cool.
Yep.
That one's pretty cool.
Yeah, that one's really cool, and I give that away to my clients. You know, I'm thinking maybe one day we'll do like maybe
A breakdown.
A breakdown, maybe like a giveaway where I'll
That'd be
give
cool.
it away to some of the audience.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
So they can take a look at that. But yeah, it's a really good one. That one's actually for people on the path to financial independence because it breaks down, you know, how much money you have, how much money you're spending, how much money you're paying in taxes. Are you using your money optimally? When can you actually make work optional?
And that's one of those apps where you plug in like your bank accounts and stuff like that, and it kind of breaks it down. So it's not like, well, Chris, you know, I have this much. And it's like, no, it's like, it's not words that, you know, human error that's coming up. It's actual like numbers, data, real numbers.
Yeah, that's the way that I recommend to my clients always doing is to actually put the live feed in there.
Okay.
But if you didn't want to, some people are, usually the older clients are kind of worried about, well, what about security breaches and stuff like that? So they can go in there and manually do it. It's just more work. And I like to just take the work out.
Yeah, I get that. Speaking of clients, quick plug, Monzon Wealth.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You're like,
Where are you going with this? Yeah, I am a financial advisor, so if you guys ever need help or assistance or just want to call and chat and get your situation reviewed, you can always contact me at Chris@Monzon Wealth, or you just go to Google, type in Monzon Wealth, you'll see a nice picture of me, and give me a chat. I'd be happy to talk with you.
Awesome.
But this leads us to the homework of the week.
Do you like homework?
Oh, no, I hated homework.
Homework was just not good.
Well, maybe not homework. Action step of the week.
I like that. Anything that gets us closer to our goal. That's what I like.
Yep. So we talked a little bit about how important it is to track your money. So action step of the week, and this is going to be a multi-week process, is track your expenses for the next 30, but ideally 90 days. That way you can see how much money is actually going out the door every month. You can do this in a myriad of different ways. If you want to, you can look at the statements of your bank at the end of the month. You can download one of the apps like we talked about. It's as simple as going to the Google Play Store or to the App Store, Apple App Store, and then just downloading budget trackers. You can link up your bank accounts. I have a Google Doc that I created for myself and my wife, but whatever works for you works for you.
I like to use Notion.
Notion?
Yeah, well, it's like what we're using for our podcast. So it's like I'll use like the spreadsheets in there and like different things like that to track different expenses for like planning. It's cool because like for me, I'm actually planning to move pretty soon, about 5 months or so. So I have like everything from like the moving page, and then inside the page, it's like, okay, here's our expenses. Here's some stuff we'll have to buy. You know, here's like how we're gonna organize funds. It's like, you know, when money comes in, how much money is allocated for what, you know, so it's kind of interesting. It's like a sketchbook on steroids, basically.
Cool.
Yeah, I like it. God, I'm such a nerd. Anyway.
Yeah, it's super important that as we're going through and doing this homework that we want to track literally every single dollar that is spent. And the reason for this is when we track every dollar, it's like creating a roadmap. And you can't reach your destination if you don't even know where you're starting.
Yeah. Like that age-old saying, like, if you don't know where you're going, every direction that you do go is the wrong direction.
So yeah, I mean, imagine if someone said like, oh yeah, my expenses are $2,000 or $1,000, and we were like, okay, well, we build a whole plan based off of that $1,000, and you were completely wrong.
Yeah, you had no idea.
Because you had no idea. So this is, out of all the course, this is the most labor-intensive thing that I'm going to ask you to do.
Yep.
And it could be as labor-intensive as legitimately tracking everything down with a paper and pen, or it could be as easy as downloading an app.
Dude, it is like, guys, it is so simple. Just download. I mean, there's so many. What do you Rocket Money, Mint. Yep. Mint is the one I use. I love it.
Yeah, the Wine app is a good one, but that one's paid for.
Okay. If you're looking for free, Mint is great. The Wine app, how do you spell that?
YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget.
You need a budget app. Okay. Very cool. So easy.
Yeah, they're super easy.
So easy.
And then the next thing about that is all of the different trackers, none of them are perfect because they don't know how to categorize.
True. You kind of have to manually.
You're gonna have to manually do that.
Bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but they do their best. You know, if they see like, oh, you shopped at Albertsons or at Fry's or
grocery stores,
they'll put it into grocery store. Yeah. But that's really important. Is after we get through the 30 to 90 days of tracking, then we're actually able to see where is our money going. I remember back to the homework on the last assignment, it was write down all of your reasons, write down your whys, the things that bring you most joy. After you actually track your expenses, you can actually see, am I spending my money in the things that bring me joy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
what I think a lot of people will find is that they're spending a lot of money at like Target or doing things that bring them short-term happiness, but maybe buying a dress or a new pair of shoes or something that just brings momentary happiness. But FI is that happiness that keeps on giving.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's no greater feeling than waking up and not having to go to your job. You know, unless you love your job, nothing wrong with that. You know, everybody loves their jobs every now and again, but it's so much nice. It's like the first day of vacation. You know, you like wake up, and you're like, this is nice. I don't have to go to work today. Got no emails. This is great, and that's really the goal. Yeah, well, at least that's one of my goals. You know, yeah.
And then the goal would be after you have tracked your expenses and you categorized it, look for a section in there that you could reduce your expenses in for something that isn't bringing you as much joy, and say, how can I start to reduce this amount?
Pro tip: start with subscriptions. I guarantee you probably have one too many, because I know I had some subscriptions where I'm like, what is this? I got a subscription. This is why you gotta like check your bank accounts and make sure like no one's not like messing with you or screwing with you. I bought a backpack online, and it came with a newsletter, but the backpack was $20, and the newsletter was $50 a month, and it was like, it made no sense. Total scammy, really scummy.
How did you buy that? Where'd you buy that at?
It was like on TV. It was like one of those like infomercial things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like late night purchase. Don't want to talk about it. Many years ago, before I became more financially smart, not as dumb now.
It's okay. It's a journey.
It's a journey, you know. I make mistakes.
Well, you have to start from somewhere.
And I was like looking at my bank account. I was like, I'm down like $50. I'm like, what is this charge? And I called them. They're like, yeah, it's for the email newsletter. I'm like, what? Ain't no newsletter worth $50. I'm like, get out of here. So I had to cancel it. So you got to stay on top of these people. People are sometimes disingenuous, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is I like to. I mean, what I do it manually because that's just the way I've always done it. I like to see every single purchase, and it kind of hurts me a little bit more when I have to put down my credit card, knowing that later on I'm gonna have to go back and actually track this.
Yeah.
Because sometimes just making that little bit more barrier to entry, just make it a little bit more difficult, will stop you a little bit more.
100%. I'm curious to see how painful it would have been if instead of like credit cards didn't exist. We'll just figuratively. And it was just cash.
Well, there are studies that show that people who spend in cash spend significantly less than people with credit cards because you actually feel the amount getting smaller.
Yeah.
Rather than you put down the card every time.
Yeah, I'll just tap it, man.
Yep. Oh, I got tap it. Nothing happened differently. My life's continuing.
It's just a number, you know. Yeah, that would be even more painful.
Yep. So that's what I had to do for myself, and I'll go through. But yeah, if anything ever comes on there weird, like my wife and I will be like, "Hey, did you buy this or what's going on with this?" So we've been able to actually identify when there was mistakes on the card within a day.
Love that.
Rather than it being like months later and everyone's like, who bought this? What's this?
Yeah, I hate that. Because like when it shows up in like your bank account, it'll be like from da-da-da-da, and you're like, what is this? It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, and then you click on it and it'll say like someplace in New York and you're like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah, exactly. And like the store was, Anyway, tracking every dollar, very important. Definitely get an app. It would make your life so much easier if you are in the digital age. If you're not, pen and paper is fine.
Pen and paper is
totally fine.
But once we have how much money once we're able to track how much money we're spending, and now we should know how much money we're making a year, right?
True. That's a very important number. Two of the most important numbers you should know.
Yep.
How much you're making, how much you're
spending. And then after that, we can see how much are we saving.
Yes. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you save.
And how much you keep.
Yes.
Yep. It's about how much you keep. So next segment is introducing the savings rate. Introducing the concept of savings rate. So again, savings rate is crucial for reaching FI. This is actually the driver that gets us to our FI number. Yep. Without savings, we're never going to be able to achieve financial independence because we're spending every single dollar that we make.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely important. It's one of the key pieces of the equation, when trying to reach your financial independence. It's, to understate it, it might be one of the most important things.
Yeah. I always like to think of imagine like a bucket. And every week you get, or every 2 weeks you get a cup of money, and you could put it into this bucket. So if I got this full cup and I put it into the bucket, then it would fill the bucket up faster. But if I drank the entire cup of water, there's nothing to go inside the bucket.
No.
but we have to fill up that bucket in order to achieve FI. So
That's a great analogy.
thank you. I just came up with it as I was saying it.
I love that. And I love the mug too. If you guys can't see, it says, I work hard so my dog can have a better life.
And I put a S on the back here because I have so many.
Multiple doggos. Yep. I love it. I love it. So how can we calculate the savings rate?
Yeah. So again, it's very easy. It's what's the equation? It's spend less, save more. So what it is, it's your annual income
Okay.
minus your annual expenses
Okay.
should be your savings rate.
Okay. That's easy enough.
It's really simple.
That's easy enough.
Yep. Annual expenses means a lot of things. You know, that's your mortgage. That's even taxes, your debts.
Yep.
All of that stuff. That's all expenses.
Yep.
After those two things, you have your savings rate, and that money can be going into a savings account, a high yield savings account, ideally, if that's the case.
Yeah.
But it should be going towards investments because the investments are the assets that are going to help to drive us to FI faster.
Exactly. With compounding interest and all that stuff.
Compounding interest is the way it works. So the sooner
You
you
love
start,
talking about
I
compounding.
love
You love it.
I just haven't figured out a good way to explain it on a
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. I think it was like Albert Einstein said, like compounding interest is one of like the greatest things in the world. Paraphrasing, of course, but yeah, compounding interest is absolutely key towards getting that and finding your savings rate. Income, expenses. That's what you have left over. That's what your savings is, and putting a portion of that towards your future.
Yeah, so let's do a quick example for the audience, just try to make it a little bit easier. So let's say you make $60,000 a year as a quick calculation.
Okay. Get my calculator out.
If you spend $50,000 a year between taxes, paying for your rents,
Yeah.
eating out, all that stuff, then that means that your savings rate, 60,000 minus 50, $10,000.
Yes.
So your savings rate is 16.67%.
So the 10%. Okay. So 10,000. That is 16%.
16 point, yeah, almost 17%
Okay.
is going towards savings. That's a really healthy savings number.
That's a good number. Good. Good.
Could it be better? Yeah. Here for FI, I usually try to shoot for a 50%,
50%.
but I say you shoot high, and if you come up short,
Yeah.
we're still going great.
Yeah. Exactly. That's so true. That's absolutely true. Yeah. No. 16% it's solid. That's solid. $10,000 savings on $60,000 a year. That's pretty solid. And I think that's doable.
Yeah.
I think that's doable.
And let's talk a little bit more about some different ways of looking at that. So we have a chart here that's in front of us. But if you save 5% of your income, and say your income never changes over the lifetime of you working,
Okay.
it's going to take you 66 years of working to actually be able to have enough money to achieve financial independence.
If you saved only 5% of your income, it'll take you 66 years. That's
And this is not including Social Security or anything like that, because we've already talked about it.
we can't.
For our generation, we're going to be the first generation, I think, that's going to have to figure this all out on our own.
Yeah.
If we have Social Security, which I think we will have Social Security, but I think it's going to be dramatically cut. No one has pensions anymore, so we're just going to have to figure it out on our own. But the old adage was save 10% of your income, and what that means is after 51 years, you should be technically able to retire because you should ideally have 25 times your expenses, given that you were actually investing the money.
Yeah. But the higher the percentage that you could save and invest, the better.
Yep. So at 50% of your income, that's actually 17 years.
Which is still that's still a long time. That's still a long time, but it's not like 50 years away.
Well, imagine if we talk to someone who's listening is only 20 years old, and then from day one, they don't let their lifestyle continue to increase. They try to really work on this. At 37 years old, you can call yourself financially independent if you just save 50% of your income.
And you're still young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, we're expecting for retirement to just continue to increase. Right now, its average retirement age is 65.
And it's going to go up.
It's going to go up because people are already outliving their money. So that's why we really need to be sure that we're good to go. And ideally, once you hit that financial independence number, you're not going to stop working. But you're going to be able to find things that you love and be able to work on the things that you love. And shoot, most people end up actually making more money.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a scary place to be where you outlive your money. And that's why it's like, that 4% rule that we talked about earlier, and taking out 4% of your total expenses every year and having it still grow and whatnot is super important. Just because you become financially free doesn't mean that you have to stop working. You know, if you enjoy what you do and you want to continue stacking cash and that's part of your plan, you want to work towards 50, 50, 40, 50, 60, whatever, that's super cool. You know, we're just providing information that can help you on your journey, you know?
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. Increasing your savings rate from 15% to 20% takes 11 or to 15% to 25% reduces your time you have to live or time you have to work by 9 years. That's huge.
Time you have to live.
It's time you have to work by 9 years.
Damn, get those numbers up, man.
Yeah, just by 10% increase in savings rate, that's 9 years less of having to do what you don't love. Because once you achieve 5, then a lot of people gain the confidence to actually go out and do things that they couldn't do without it.
Yeah, you know, travel the country, travel the world, do what you want. Live on a beach, whatever you want. I love that. So getting back to we're actually on segment number 9 already. Wow, time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yep. Damn, coming to the end.
Yeah, but just talking again, we're just gonna do a quick recap with an example. So what we're talking about is making sure that we actually know our numbers. So number 1 is tracking our expenses. We talked about it so many different times, but challenge of the week is go ahead and try to track your expenses for the next 30, ideally 90 days. And after that, categorize what that money is going towards. See if it's actually in line with the first homework assignment or the first challenge, which was, am I spending my money in the things that actually bring me joy? After that, we're going to go ahead and try to see what of the money that I'm spending in can I reduce? What things are not bringing me enough joy? How can I reduce spending that money so I can move that money from there to the savings rate?
Absolutely.
Because the more that we save, the faster we're going to be able to achieve that financial independence number.
Yeah, and speed is everything. You know, I think it's very easy to put off things you should do because I might not be knowledgeable enough about it. I might be scared. You might be in a position where, you don't want to check your bank account, because you're afraid to see what's in there. You don't want to see how high the credit card bill is or how low the checking is or the savings is, but only you can take control of your destiny, and nothing changes if nothing changes, so you got to take control.
Well, let's run a quick scenario just for the listeners so they might be able to understand. Dominic, how much do you think you need to retire?
It's definitely over $1 million these days. It's definitely over $1 million.
Okay.
What is it, $5 million?
$5 million? You think? Okay, so you think if I gave you $5 million today, you'd be like, I'm not going to work anymore.
Let me put it this way. This is tough because I know Chris and I, we could just live like Spartans.
We could.
I don't need $5 million. We could do $1 million. We could do $1 million. That'd be easy, But I'd like to have a family one day. I like to have a wife, a dog, maybe 2 dogs. Maybe go to Mexico, get pulled over by the police. I don't know. I want to get stories too. But yeah, we could make it simple. Keep it at $1 million, or we could do 2. We just say $2 million.
Whatever you want.
$2 million. We'll say $2 million to keep it simple.
So you need $2 million to retire.
Sure.
Okay. What do you think right now? I know that you've actually done the homework assignment. So what are your annual expenses?
My annual expenses are low. They're very low. So for me, in my situation, I don't pay rent right now.
Okay.
I don't pay groceries.
Okay.
I don't pay electricity.
Okay.
So my expenses are very, 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 very low. So all I have to pay is like subscription, gym, investing. That's basically it. So,
and the investing actually isn't an expense. That's part of the savings
true.
rate. Yep.
That's very true.
That's part of the savings rate.
That's very true.
Okay, so maybe that's not a great example.
I'm a terrible example. I'm kind of a little bit abnormal in that aspect. I know a lot of people have rent and all that fun stuff.
So let's just say for an average person.
For an average Joe.
I would say $40,000 to $60,000 is a good amount of expenses. So this is go on the lower end. We'll say $40,000.
Easy enough.
Now, when I asked you how much money do you need to retire, a lot of people, and most people would do the same thing. They'll throw out $5 million, $10 million.
Just a blanket number.
A blanket number.
Total shot in the dark.
Yep. And then unfortunately, when they go to investment or retirement calculators, they'll also ask that same question: how much money do I need to retire? But those calculations are fundamentally flawed because they're going to ask you how much money do you bring in?
Yep.
And then they're going to basically assume that you're spending all of that money. Savings rate doesn't even factor in.
No factor.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
So if let's say you make $40,000 a year, 40 times 25.
Okay.
25 reaches us to the 4% rule. So 40 times 25 is $1 million.
Okay.
So if you have annual expenses of $40 million, once you reach $1 million in assets that are producing income to you, or aren't even producing income, maybe there's stocks that are appreciating, you can still sell 4% of that a year and still make your $40,000 to be able to fund the cost of your life.
And I think one thing that's super important for everyone to like wrap their head around, it's not just $1 million in a bank account that you're just every year you're just withdrawing 40,000 because eventually it's going to run out.
Well, maybe if the bank account was paying like a huge return.
Yeah.
Like back in the 70s.
70s, they were getting like crazy, like 17%.
Yeah, they're like 7, 8, 9% interest rates.
Crazy stuff.
You know, but that's not
the picture today.
Yep.
So it's not like it's just like cash sitting in an account. No, it's cash sitting in an investment vehicle that is, continuously going up.
Maybe we should talk a little bit about the difference between assets and liabilities.
I would love that.
Okay.
Do you want to do that right now or do another podcast?
Let's do it on another podcast, but just as a quick, what the big thing that we're trying to do is with our money, we want to purchase assets. Mm-hmm. Assets are things that put money in our pockets.
Correct.
Liabilities are things that take money out of our pockets. So these clothes that I'm buying, these clothes that I'm wearing, these laptops, the desk, the house that I live in, these are all liabilities. Mm-hmm. They don't give me money. Now, eventually, some people, and this is where I disagree with a lot of advisors, some advisors say that your house is an asset. It is an asset once you start making money off of it.
Exactly.
But until that point, if you're just living in it,
it's a liability.
It's a liability.
Because it's taking money out of your accounts. Mm-hmm. It costs you money.
But if you wanted to maybe do a house hack where you live in the house and then you have someone else also live in the house and they're paying you rent and the rent actually is covering the mortgage, now you have an asset.
Exactly.
But a car is
definitely not.
Car's not assets.
Car is a liability, and that's where. Now I'm curious to see your point on this. A paid off car,
still a liability.
Still a liability because it doesn't bring in money. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Now, if you purchase the vehicle with the knowledge that it will be able to appreciate, you can sell it for more.
Classic car.
Like then that is an asset, and that's the difficult part. That the things can wax and wane. You know, investments are when you purchase them. Are you assuming that they will go up in value so that you can sell them for more?
Yeah.
That's the definition
as simple as
of
that.
asset.
Asset puts money in your pocket. Liability takes money out of your pocket. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what we're trying to do is increase how many assets we purchase with our savings rate. Yes. That's what's going to get us to fly faster. The earlier we start to do this, the faster we're going to be able to do it because we have the power of compounding behind us. Or if we're really late in this journey of life, we're trying to figure it out now, then we're going to need to increase the savings rate so that we can get to our FI number before ideally reach the age of 65. Because I have a lot of clients that are older and they want to be able to retire, and I want them to be able to retire too.
Yeah, everybody deserves to retire.
Everyone
deserves to retire. So getting on to segment number 10 of today's podcast, the win of the week.
Win of the week.
Win of the week. Let's go. I don't have a win of the week, but my good man Chris over here has a great win of the week.
I do have a good win of the week. So my win of the week is kind of actually in line with what we've been talking about with savings rate and keeping everything done. My wife and I, we actually just paid off her car. I know that some advisors, they say, don't buy new cars, always buy used cars. Everyone's different. Do what makes you happy. My wife and I, we purchase brand new cars off the lot, but we run them pretty much forever. So I remember when I was working at my last office where we first met, there was a client who came in and said, "Oh, that must be your Corvette out there, isn't it?"
I think I said that.
Oh yeah, he's like, "That's probably your Corvette out there because you're like a finance guy."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, that's not. No, I don't drive a Corvette." And he was like, "Well, what do you drive?" I'm like, "I drive a 2015 Toyota Tacoma." Yeah. And he goes, "Oh, well, that's not really what finance people drive."
It's not what I would have pictured.
And I was like, "Well, for me, it's a good car. When I purchased it, I was everything that I wanted. I could get my surfboards from my house to the beach, and it was a car that I knew I wouldn't have to break down. Because before that, I had a '93 Jeep Wrangler YJ.
Okay, I see you.
And it broke down every single weekend. So when I was moving from San Diego to my next location, the big thing was like I need to have a car that is reliable. So for that point, it was I'm going to purchase a brand new car and I'm just going to run it till it dies.
Yeah, there you go. And honestly, Toyota can't pick a better car.
No.
That literally, it's funny that you say that. I'm going to eat my words real quick. I literally started up my mom's Corolla yesterday and it didn't start.
Oh no.
So first time ever I think I've ever seen a Toyota not start. Very bizarre. I think the battery just died, but I mean, I've been away for like 2 weeks, so
it's been 2 weeks, and while you were gone, Arizona's really hot, so it kills the batteries.
Exactly. But Like you're saying.
Yeah, back to the win of the week. So yeah, we paid off my wife's car. So her car payment was $222 a month over a year. So 22. It was $2,664.
A year.
Yep.
Okay.
$2,664. But what this means is now that we paid off the car, given that we don't go and add another car in or find another place to pick that $222 a month, if we actually add it to our investments, and we're trying to help and grow our assets, we have actually been able to reduce our combined FI number by $66,600.
And that is because you have the yearly expense, 2,664, multiplied by 25, right? And that number comes out to 66,600.
600.
Yeah, that's a weird number. I don't know if I like that number. And you've reduced that from your total number of your FI number, basically. So beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah. That's huge. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
That's awesome.
It's $66,000. That's someone's normal annual income.
Yeah.
So I've just taken off a whole year.
Yeah. If that doesn't make sense to you guys, please let us know in the comments. Chris and I talked about this for like 15 minutes. We're like trying to understand how we can explain this. And if you guys don't get it, we'll definitely explain the rule of 25. Or do they call it the rule of 25?
It's the 4% rule.
4%
rule. But they both work together for you to understand them.
Okay. Yeah, the 4% takes away. 25 calculates your expenses.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's huge.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Something my mom used to always do and say whenever she'd get a raise, rather than take the money, she would the difference in the raise she would just put more into like investments and stuff like that. What are you gonna do with the $222?
We're gonna start putting it back into investing.
Love it.
Yep. So I'm just gonna straight up invest it.
That's about as useful as you can get.
Yeah. Like I told, the big thing about like financial planning is life changes. Life is always uncertain, and where you might have the perfect financial plan, but things are going to change with just the vicissitudes of life. So right now we've been spending a lot of our money in just traveling and having fun before we decide to start the family and everything. So that extra $222 is going to go back into the investing where it normally used to be, because right now our savings rate is substantially lower than it historically has been. Historically, we've always been at like a 50% savings rate, but now it's substantially lower because we're trying to have as much fun as we can. But also, we've opened ourselves up to the opportunity by working hard when we were younger to be able to take a step back from savings for a little bit of time. Yeah, knowing that we can always go back to it.
That's awesome. What a beautiful season you're in. I love it. And if your life was a movie, I'd watch it.
It'd probably be pretty boring for most of the time.
I don't know. Jiu-jitsu in the morning, little podcast in the midday, playing with the dogs at night.
But I think a lot of people, they always try to focus on getting to the next stage of their life, and they don't like sit there to appreciate what stage they're in. Because it's always a balance of life, right? There's how much money you have, how much time you have, and what your body can handle. Yeah. When you're young, your body can handle a lot, and you have a lot of time, but you don't have money. True. Right now, in the stage that I'm kind of in, my body can handle things. I have money, and I have time.
And you have time.
But I know once I have a kid, I'm going to lose the time. I'll have the money and the body, so why not be able to go and? Right now, I'm in this stage of life. I should really enjoy it.
Oh, that's exciting. That's awesome. Well, to summarize the main points that we talked about on this episode, the significance of the 4% rule and understanding your annual expenses, as well as knowing your savings rate, very important. Yep. Do you want to go for the next one?
Yeah, so again, your assignment for this week, or the action step, is to start tracking your expenses for the next 30 days, ideally actually 90 days. And then after that, go ahead and categorize, or as you're doing it, categorize, and then after that, we're going to look and see what can we do to reduce one section of this. Maybe it's eating out. For me, that was one of my biggest ones. I spent too much money on food. So I had to go ahead and just start saying, I'm going to start making food at home. And then I actually started getting into meal prepping every Sunday.
That's fun.
It was so much easier.
So much easier.
Yeah.
I got a recipe. Well, I don't have a recipe, but I tried overnight oats. You ever tried that?
No.
Oh my God. It's like, oh my God. I'm not an oatmeal guy, but for meal prep, it's amazing.
Okay.
Five Guys cooking show coming soon. I don't know.
My biggest thing was I'd go to Costco. I would get a rotisserie chicken. Then I would go home and make this is what I did in college, make a buttload of rice. And then I would shred the chicken with my hands, throw it inside the rice, throw some soy sauce, and then I basically make a bunch of chicken fried rice that I have for the week. And then maybe I'd buy an extra chicken and throw it on top of there. And then that was pretty much what I eat. It was just chicken fried rice and chicken.
I love it.
Like all week.
God, Such like a dude thing, you know?
It was easy.
It's such like a Spartan. Like, I don't know. It's just like a dude thing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
But guys, please continue to listen, subscribe. We're on all major platforms.
Google
Instagram,
Podcast, Spotify,
YouTube, Twitter, or now X.
Now X. That's confusing.
We're growing slowly.
Yeah.
So yeah, just please subscribe to the channel, like, comment, do all that stuff. And if you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, we're going to be introducing new sections or new segments, more and more to really get back to the community and answer your guys' questions. So that's what we're here for. Tune in for the next episode. We're going to move on to the next step on our crash course to FI.
I love it. Alrighty, guys. See ya.
Later.